In Washington, it started off 1-0. They're now 1-2, and Dwayne Haskins had 4 turnovers yesterday, 2 fumbles. One was recovered by him, one by the other team, 3 interceptions. And yesterday, Ron Rivera said he's not going to pull the plug on Dwayne Haskins based on one game. However, a caveat was applied by Coach Rivera today. Here he is.
There is. I mean, again, and you brought up the point, and it's a very good point, is that there are guys in that locker room that are playing well enough for us to win. And again, we have to make sure everybody is playing well enough to win at that point. And there is a cutoff point for me. There is.
Where the cutoff point is remains to be seen, but the question becomes if and when Dwayne Haskins is benched. And look, that's significant because this is the 15th overall pick from the 2019 draft. New coaching staff, new regime in Washington, new culture, new name, new everything. If he ends up getting benched, I don't know what you do with him after that. Do you keep him around as a very expensive backup? Do you find someone that may want to trade for him? That's a after the season type thing, unless there's somebody that would swoop in during the season and want him. I doubt that happens before the Tuesday after Week 8. But then the question is it Kyle Allen, who has the equity built up with Ron Rivera from their time together last year in Carolina, or is it Alex Smith, one of the all-time great comeback stories in the NFL after having that serious broken leg, the infection that nearly ended his life and or resulted in the amputation of that leg? If he comes back and plays, and he can play like he did 2 years ago, if that's the case, then this team is still very much alive in a division where 1 and 2 has them tied for first place, Charean.
Yeah, no question about it. And that's the thing. They play in the NFC East where they're tied for the lead. But, you know, if you look at this Washington team, that defense is very good. But this is not a team that's going to contend this year. They're building. They're in the first year with Ron Rivera. They didn't get the real offseason program that they needed with him. I think he's going to build a great program. And to me, you let Dwayne Haskins play this year. You see what you have in him. You decide if he is your quarterback of the future by letting him play, not sitting him on the bench. And we all want to see Alex Smith play. As you said, one of the greatest comeback stories in NFL history. We never even thought he would get to this point, and he has. We'd love to see him play, but I think as an organization, you have to know what you have in Dwayne Haskins, and I'm not sure they know yet. He didn't play very many snaps in college until his last year there. Then he played a bunch of snaps, and then he was on and off last year and looked really good in those last 6 quarters, and now this year, you look at him, he has 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and his 6.2 yards per attempt is 30th in the NFL. So, you know, they've got to figure out what they have in him. And I know the pet cat is Kyle Allen. He's not your quarterback of the future. You got nothing in him. He's going to be a backup for you from now on. He knows your offense. I don't see him playing. I think it's either Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins, but I think you stick with Haskins. Even if you have a chance to win the division and you think one of those other quarterbacks is better, I think you take your lumps, as Ron Rivera said yesterday with Dwayne Haskins, and figure out if you need to go a different direction next year.
At one point, Rivera said today that the other players on offense deserve better, which that is more damning than saying there's a cutoff point, and it just feels like the challenge has been set for Dwayne Haskins, almost like in the offseason where Dwayne Haskins was the subject of comments from Ron Rivera suggesting Rivera was ambivalent about him and maybe he wasn't sold on him. And I think that was intended to prod Dwayne Haskins to get himself into better shape, to work harder, to try to advance his game to the proverbial next level. He got a lot of praise after week 1 for the halftime speech that Haskins gave to the team while Rivera was getting a planned IV as part of his cancer treatment. And they went out and they erased a 17-point deficit. They were down 10 at the half. They won the game. Everything's great. 2 weeks later, everything's not great. It's amazing how quickly that pendulum can shift in the NFL. But look, you've got to win games. And if you don't win games, these questions are going to linger. And if you have 4 turnovers as a quarterback, that's not going to keep you on the field. And that raises some real questions about the team. And again, the good news, they're in the NFC East. Now, even though there's an extra playoff team now in each conference, I still don't like the fact that there are 4 4-team divisions per conference. I don't have a solution other than maybe expanding the league from 32 to 36 and having 6-team divisions. Would that work? 3 6-team divisions per conference, and then you have 36 total teams. At least you take away one of these junk, garbage potential playoff berths based upon being the least of 4 bad teams. But that's what the NFC East is looking like this year, just like it was last year. And meanwhile, the NFC West is murderer's row, seemingly from top to bottom, although Arizona would suggest otherwise after its performance against the Lions yesterday.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.